Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Isla Napali. In today's episode, we are finally building the second entrance to the park, which is actually the old entrance to Isla Napali, and again the first entrance. So yeah, if you're here to see that, this is the right episode for you. And now sit back, relax, and enjoy the time lapse today. So here we go. Before we build the entrance, however, let me just quickly lose some words on what I'm doing first of all, and this is repositioning the lovely go-kart track. We have to talk about the go-kart track in future episodes as well, but for now it is all about just finding a suitable spot for it to make sure that we have some space for the entrance. Before we do talk about the entrance in particular, let me just tell you, today is again a double feature day, which is for once this video, and also one video which is really important to me, that you guys watch it as well and give me your opinion on that. I did a top 5 feature list of a Planet Zoo features, the upcoming game by Frontier Developments. If you haven't heard of that one, however, this can be possible. This will be a huge thing end of this year. So I made this video, and I will put a link to it to the top right of your side if I can, because I don't know if I have the link right now to put it in, but I guess so. It should be available. So yeah, top right card, just click it, you'll be there, and then you definitely have to come back and watch this video. So the reason why I'm talking about that first is I usually don't do these kind of top list videos. I feel like it's not really clickbaity. It's, you know, I used to watch them as well if I'm interested in a topic, but I really felt like after all the info we got from E3, it got a little bit more quiet. I really forced myself to not do any kind of quick and dirty videos on it, because I felt like this is squeezing out some stuff that really doesn't exist. So I also don't really want to make a video on each and every single screenshot, because it kind of gets a bit dull at this point in time. So yeah, there's been a new animal, right? Okay, but at the end of the day, there's a lot more coming in the future, hopefully, which is worth covering. And I felt like I still want to have some stuff about Planet Zoo running, because I'm still super hyped for the game. Yeah, I found this was the best way to cover it, and I really want to hear your opinion on that. Anyways, enough talk about Planet Zoo at this point. Just wanted to kind of give you the little cross promo. And there's just one last thing before we talk about this video. There might be some merchandising below that video. I don't know if it is already online. It takes a few days, YouTube told me. But I didn't really want to leave it with you without a comment to it. I will do a video in particular about the merchandise itself and why it is here and why it's not on, you know, Spreadshirt any longer, and why it's entirely new. There's a fair bit of explanation to do from my side, because otherwise you guys might just understand it the wrong way around, and I don't want to have this. And just as a little reminder, please, until you hate me for that or whatever, let me know in the comments down below if you like those things, if you see them. But anyways, please, before you rate me, wait for the video where I'm going to explain you what happened and why and so on, because that's kind of something I've been working on for quite a while, and I've been struggling to do, not in terms of because I haven't had the capabilities of doing it or whatever. I really struggled with myself if I want to do it or not, and there's a lot of pros and cons went into it, and at the end of the day I decided to do so, and I really will need your help in the future to improve what I am doing there. So yeah, again, there will be a video on that. Anyways, now it's about time to talk about the actual time-lapse you've seen in the background. So for those of you who've been in the Monday live stream, they obviously have seen most of it. There is a specific target I had with this entrance from the very beginning of Planet, what am I even talking about? Isla Napali. It always was the idea that there is somewhat of an older part of the park, which is a lot more kind of not even themed, but which needed to work around a lot more with the existing stuff on the island, while the newer part, which actually was what we built first, is the part of the park which is already a bit more tied into an actual theme park layout, if you will. So still it has some huge influences from the given circumstances of the island being an island, but again, this was way less than what we will have in the older part of this park. And so there's a lot more thoughts that went into this area, obviously. And one of them being is why and what and how exactly the I think it's kind of a hate-love kind of relationship between us and the go-karts. I think the go-karts themselves, as a blueprint, as a track, they are, I think, loved by basically everyone. Like, everyone was telling how much they love the go-karts, but the positioning was really hated at the beginning, and so we need to find a new spot for it. And this is why I wanted to tie that into this area with the old entrance. The reason being is that this is the entrance that is really coming from the old harbor, which has been then changed into the bigger cargo harbor. So this is actually the entrance of the park, which now is closer to the area where the main people, like the people living on that island, where they live. So we will, at the end of the day, close to this area on the mountainside, we will also have the huts of people living actually on Napali Island, or like Isla Napali. How you want to call it. So this is quite a task, and it would make a lot more sense that also all the private boats and, you know, all this kind of stuff arrives at the older entrance, because that's the less famous entrance, if you will. So all the tourist boats and stuff, they will go into the smaller harbor in the north of the island, while the rest of it will be here in the south of the island, on the old part, where there's also the cargo harbor. And the other important thing about the cargo harbor being the cargo harbor is that there's a lot more concrete, a lot more space, and a lot more connection to the backstage. And this is why at the beginning of this episode you have seen me putting down the backstage road entirely around the little hill we had. You can basically see that in the background all the time with these wooden, actually it's a roller coaster, but it's again I used a roller coaster to build a fence because it's so much more poly easy, so you don't really spend too much pieces on that. If you just take this fence going around here, it would potentially contain about 1,000 planks or more, and so it only is 2 coasters. That kind of saves you a lot of pulleys and a lot of performance. That's why I try to use the coasters as fences quite a bit more now. But yeah, this is the reason why there is the backstage path going alongside here. And yeah, that's then leading actually to the task I had with this entrance. The entrance had to be a fair bit smaller than what you are used from the bigger entrance with all the staff building at the beginning of like the first era of Isla Napali as the series on my channel. So what we built at the very beginning, the more modern part, is definitely a bigger building than this one over here. And this is basically the old building, which architecture-wise, it's influenced a lot more by Asian architecture than the rest of the park. Is because I really wanted to make sure that this looks a bit older as well, but also given that the Hawaiian Islands, as well as some other areas on the kind of on these islands being closer to Japan, they have a lot more Asian influences to them, especially Japanese architecture, but also a bit more of a general Asian architecture, if there's even a way to call that general, because even within the Asian architecture there are loads of different architectural styles, and I went a bit more for the Japanese influences here. You will see hopefully at the end of this episode what I meant by this. And yeah, it was a huge struggle to find the right color scheme for this entrance. I'm quite happy with how it turned out in the end. Not entirely sure if I will exactly stick with it. I'm also again dependent on your guys' feedback, so please make sure that you tell me how you like the building itself, architecture wise, but also color wise. So really I need feedback on the colors, especially because that was something we've been struggling quite a bit with in the live stream. But yeah, you can see me this time. I approached the building itself somewhat differently. I really tried myself, I just forced myself a little bit more to make, first of all, like the roof piece and just kind of see how it looks, to make sure that this all works together how I kind of imagine it to work together. and I was kind of figuring all the empty spots at the end. Usually I try to build like a very detailed piece that I then kind of, by piece I mean like one part of the building. If this is a building like that one, which is a bit repetitive by its nature, because it's kind of the blocky entrance which has a lot of segments, and all these segments basically look the same, so you can also just prepare one of the segments and then just copy that segment, and in the end just try to merge them a bit more into each other by just changing some small details to make it not look 100% repetitive, but still this is how buildings are made, so there's nothing wrong in doing so if you're able to pull off some specific details in the end that make the building stand out a bit more. But yeah, this is how I approached it this time, because I really was just testing a bit more. And here you can see this is what I meant now by the bit more of the Japanese influence. I wanted to have like a little bit of a tower in the middle, and I wanted to make this tower appear yeah, something that really looks like it could be on Hawaii, but still could also be with a little bit of a twist in Japan. And maybe it could be also very nice building in these botanical gardens in Japan. I have to admit that there is a fair bit of influence going in here from Silveret's series with the botanical garden he built when he's been in Japan, so I was looking into that as well. Not going too much into the architecture as well, not putting that many details in, because again this series is also targeted at making the park still playable and not using too many pieces. Saying that, I'm still happy how the building turned out looking in the end, because I didn't really use too many details, but I'm pretty happy with the Ghostbusters piece I used here, because the piece itself had a lot of nice little ornaments and stuff going on. So as you can see, this roof is only made by the roof pieces. I didn't really add any plank or whatever in the middle, so it really has some nice details to it itself. So this is only just a few pieces. I think that the whole roof just contains less than 100 pieces, which is given the fact it's a custom-made roof, it's even ridiculous to say so, because you can basically add a one figure, 10 at the end of the number to get a bit closer to what it's normally like. But yeah, again, fairly happy that it worked out. But yeah, this is now what I've been talking about at the beginning a bit more. Now I'm trying to fill all these gaps, which is, at least I have to admit, it's the most annoying part of these kind of buildings. If you build a custom roof, you can't use in-game pieces to fill these empty spots to the left and to the right, because these pieces and the angle of the roof basically doesn't suit the in-game pieces with a dedicated angle to them. So obviously the in-game grid pieces all have a predefined angle of, I think it's like very steep, semi-steep, and completely like less steep. And these kind of 3 steps you have to basically take or leave, I guess. If you don't, you have to build it yourself, and that's why I definitely have to build kind of a workaround to make it filled, as you can see over here. One thing I haven't tackled yet, I have to do in the past, is I used these wonderful new wall sets from the Ghostbusters set, which I have a little bit of a fake skyline, if you will, and they have a pretty nice backside which looked awesome as a roof piece, but still the problem is you can see these fake windows from below, so I still have to look into how I fix that. I have a pretty easy solution for that, I guess, but yeah, we'll see in the end how this will work out. Anyways, we're getting closely to the end of this episode, and you can see me now putting down a bit of foliage here and there, but it's just preparing for the next episode where we will detail the whole area a bit more. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode with giving you a bit more info on what I've been actually doing here with this building, and what the planning was, and what the idea and thoughts were that went into making this one. So again, as always, I really appreciate if you would jump into the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about this episode. Do you like the color scheme? Do you like the roofing? Do you feel it's Japanese enough? And all the other kind of things you can tell me. Anyways, that's it. Have a great day, guys, and see you in the next episode of Isla Napali, or potentially go over and watch the Planet Zoo video, because it's all pretty interesting. And yeah, then I see you in the next episode. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already and you like the content, and everything else I can say is enjoy your time, and see you next time. Bye.